Pence is Mia and owner of Mia Talks Media and Marketing. We are smack dab in back to school season. I know, right? The anxiety, the stress. How are we going to do this all? I'm a teacher that's trying to stay sane. Your kids are asking you questions nonstop. Zoom is freezing right just this past Monday. Well, that's what we're taking on in this back to school survival show powered by the David Pence Allstate team. I have to thank you guys. We have created an entire season. Literally, I think it's about 7 episodes you can check out at miatalks.com. And today is season 1's final episode. I think it's so important to support the success of women and families and parents and teachers. And clearly, I'm not alone because we've got a great lineup. I want to start by welcoming the David Pence Allstate team, Angela Watson and Tammy Toller. Ladies, let's talk about, for the Allstate Pence Insurance team, how important it is to support the success of families in our area.
Hey, I'm Angela Watson. This is Tammy Toller. We are with Allstate David Pence. And we have 2 agencies right here off of Montgomery Crossroads, veteran owned. Whether you're teaching from home, working from home, or your living room has become a classroom, whatever your current situation is, the Allstate David Pence family is here to protect your home and every part of your life.
So please call us anytime to discuss the best coverages, rates, and your needs, especially what's most important to you, which is your family. And we want to thank Mia. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Back to School Survival Show for Mia Talk. And we're with educator, mom, and business owner, Julie Collins.
Yay! Hey, Julie.
Hey, Mia.
Before we turn it over to Julie, we are going to ask, Hurricane Laura is trending like crazy, right? And people are looking at what could potentially happen in the Gulf Coast. Can one of you, Tammy or Angela, talk to everyone who's watching about something they should know when it comes to hurricane coverages and preparations, please?
Yes. So it's important to know your policy. All policies are not equal. Just because you have wind coverage, you might not have hurricane coverage. You may have a different deductible for wind or hurricane. So be sure that you know what you have. And if you don't know what you have, pick up the phone. If you can't get in touch with your agent, we are always happy just to educate in general. We love to go over those things with people and just make sure that you understand and that you have the right coverage.
And Angela, we are doing a show that's focused on kids going back to school. If kids are driving back to school, they're back on the road, they just got a new car. What about reviewing those policies for families?
Well, I think that's a really good idea, especially with these teenage drivers. They're very inexperienced. They're out there just wanting to have fun. They don't realize the consequences. So make sure you sit down and talk to your agent, look at your coverages. Look at the consequences of not having the right coverages. You could really get yourself in a big pickle by being underinsured.
Excellent. So to learn more about what you do every single day, there is the contact information for the David Pence Allstate team. They are waiting to serve you at 912-961-9617. Thank you so much for being in an office that represents service to our country as well. We can't say thank you enough as well to David Pence. We are going to turn this over to Julie Collins. You've got a lot of titles here, Julie. So I want to start with just you're a mom, you're a teacher, you're a tutor, you own Salt Marsh and Spurs. Let's talk about the full spectrum of who you are before we even get into trying to keep teachers and parents sane, please.
Well, I guess we could just start with the first title, which is mom. Probably the most important one, I would say, for sure. Definitely one I'm most proud of. I'm mom. I have an only child. I'm mom to a 19-year-old, just finished freshman year at the Citadel, and very, very proud of him. Yay! Not with a lot of bumps along the way, for sure. And we can get into that because I'm going to be real with you guys. And it has not been easy. It's not perfect, and it's messy. But parenthood is messy. And just because I'm a teacher does not mean that I'm this perfect mom or anything like that. I've made my share of mistakes there, but I'm super proud of that title for sure. Teacher, I've 17 years now experience teaching. I've taught elementary school, I've taught middle school, I've taught high school, I've taught community college level. And I guess my favorite grade level is definitely high school. I love teenagers for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But I love teenagers. So high school, I'm probably in my last 10 years right now of my career teaching. And I'll probably stay right here in the high school, at the high school level, because I really love working with these kids.
Are you going to toot your horn? Teacher of the year. Hello.
Well,
claps.
I am on my way out of that title. I was teacher of the year for 2019-2020 school year. And I've been nominated many, many times, and I thought, well, I'll never get it, but I did last year, and lo and behold, it was just a crazy school year to be teacher of the year with the pandemic and just everything. I'm pretty sure there was a hurricane in there or two, something like that. So I have officially passed the torch to the new teacher of the year, and her name is Chelsea Clutch, and she's young and she's energetic and she's awesome, and she's going to do a great job for this upcoming school year. So I do teach in Beaufort County. So I'm at May River High School, and we have not started school yet. So we start, teachers start about a week from now, and then the students start back September 8th. So we're a little bit behind Chatham County. Tutor. I have always tutored. Most of the teachers I work with, do some tutoring on the side. And I really specialize in SAT, ACT prep, high school, tutoring. I've always done something like that after school. And so I tutor out of my home and sometimes meet students at the library. Right now we can't do that. It's social distancing and all that. But I do tutoring on the side, and I do pretty much everything except for math, because I never got math. Math and I were never friends. So I just send all my math tutoring kids over to Mathnasium, because my good friend owns that, and they're awesome at tutoring all levels of math. So I don't go there. I would confuse
as long as you know how to count money.
I can do that. I can count it. I can make it. I can balance my checkbook. I can tell people how to spend it. But no math other than that for me. And what else? What?
Your business. You own a business.
I've always had my hand in some kind of business. I love creating. I'm a very creative person. And DIY design has always been a part of my life since I was really little. I was always decorating my room, stuff like that. So
how much can you put up the walls and make it over again and all that good stuff?
Oh gosh. My house right now is starting to lose square footage because I've painted rooms so many times since we've been home.
I bet you everyone that's watching us has gone, what can I make over? And we're actually going to, y'all, talk about, especially because you're home more working, your living room's turned into a classroom, as you heard Angela and Tammy from the Pence Allstate team talk about how to really elevate that space so you're feeling good while you're in it, and it speaks to who you are. So, Julie, you do have a fantastic blog, you name it, ways for people to contact you when it comes to tutoring. Do you want to share a little bit about that so people know how to find you?
Yeah, I started this blog about a little over a year ago. It's called saltmarshandspurs.com. And the name represents where I'm from. So I'm from Texas originally. And of course, I split my time between Bluffton and Savannah, so Salt Marsh. And I blog about really everything, every project that I do DIY. So that happens a lot around here. So I blog about the real the real outcome of the project, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What went right, what went wrong, tips for you if you want to try this, stuff like that. And I blog about travel. We travel a lot. So good, bad, and ugly on that too. It seems like people really like it when my trips don't go as well as planned. People think it's really funny. So I write about when the travel goes bad, and it is kind of funny. Great family memories. So I blog about that. And also I've added some little teacher side to my blog. So very soon I'm going to have teaching materials available for sale. I'm working on getting some things copyrighted. So I'm always creating stuff, and I throw everything on the blog. And you can contact me through the blog. There's a contact form there. And for whatever you need, teaching or consulting for decorating, landscape design, whatever.
Well, and recently you've been taking a lot of vacations to your backyard, which is pretty normal standard for everybody right now. And people are going to share in that in your blog. So please check that out at saltmarshandspurs.com. All right, Julie, let's take on Monday. There was a massive Zoom outage all over. So if you were an educator, you were a student, you were an employer, you were anyone that was trying to get virtually connected, boy, oh boy, that wasn't happening. Let's start with, what tips can you give people who are in this process right now? Parents are now teachers. Teachers are now obviously having to adapt with the rest of their life if they're doing it virtually as well. What are some starter tips to how to breathe, so when things like that happen, or freezes happen, or outages happen, they know that they can make it to the other side?
Well, you just said it really. I mean, the most important thing to remember is just to try to give yourself some grace and to breathe and realize that this is new and this is a big, big change for everybody. Okay. So it's not just schools. It's not just families and students. It's teachers. It's everybody. And Zoom is still relatively new to all of us, including teachers. Of course, things are going to go wrong. And that's what you have to tell yourself is technology. It's all brand new world. And you will be forgiven if you cannot log on. It's not going to be the end of the world. You take a deep breath and you realize that if you can't log on, if your screen is freezing, then probably it's happening to a lot of other people at the same time. It's not just you, but in that moment, you do kind of feel like, great, it's the first day and I've already messed up, and you tend to just freak out, but it's okay. You can just rest assured, tell yourself, this is probably happening to a lot of people. And don't beat yourself up over it, because it's new for everyone. And we just have to be able to walk away sometimes and go, all right, tomorrow's a new day. Or I'll, go to the backyard for 10, 15 minutes and come back and try this again, or I'll text my friend or my neighbor and see if they're having the same problem. Just breathe, and we troubleshoot as we go, and things will eventually sort themselves out.
Don't beat yourself up, I think, is a motto you should just own for the rest of your life. So taking away, do not beat yourself up, no matter what business industry or what your home or what your classroom looks like right now. That is such gold. Thank you, Julie. And parents and teachers, as you're watching this, a couple of things we want to know: is your family back in the classroom? Are you doing virtual school? Are you doing homeschool? Are you doing something completely different? Let us know in the comments. Teachers, what is your biggest classroom struggle or biggest struggle for you right now? Families, your biggest school learning struggles. I want to move into, Julie, connection. I think everyone misses connection on a humanitarian level, but on a face-to-face, being able to be close, connect. How do we navigate the connection element?
That is so, so important. And it's probably the hardest thing for me, and I would say for most of the teachers, is missing that connection, missing that classroom time. I would bet you my bottom dollar that the kids would say the same thing. I've seen them. I've talked to them online. I've talked to them in the neighborhood. They tell me they would give anything to go back to school. Just go back to school and see their teacher and have things back to normal. And it breaks my heart. It really, really does. It is so hard to teach to a computer. And I know that you can see everyone and all of that, but it is not the same. And we struggle with this. We really, really struggle with this. You know, when the closure first happened in March, many of us did not get to say goodbye to our students, myself included. We did not have any time really to prepare, and that's nobody's fault. I mean, it's just not. You can't blame this on anybody. But we were preparing for a maybe, and then a weekend came, and Monday it happened, you know? And so my classroom, along with everyone else's that I know, got frozen in time. And it's very eerie to go back in there and see my calendar.
Can you pause there to honor the emotion of what that had to feel like for teachers, administration, and students? Because there's no one that can say, oh, we knew exactly like when that happened 2 years ago. This had not happened literally for probably at least 100 years since the last pandemic. Can you just talk about the emotion of all of a sudden everyone's entire world, the students' norm of what they were doing each day, how that emotionally felt?
Yes. Well, you know, it was a delayed reaction really, because in the beginning, you know, it's March and people and teachers and students are very, very tired in March because we're almost to spring break. You know, it's getting towards, you're starting to feel that weather change and you're really getting weary and you're tired. So in the beginning, it was kind of like, wow, we're going to be off for 2 weeks, because that's what everyone thought. 2 weeks. We're going to be off for 2 weeks. And, you know, in the beginning, it was like, well, we're going to have to make these days up. And that means that my summer plans for the 1st of June are going to have to get pushed back. And the emotion piece was not there right away. It was like, okay, it was like a hurricane break or something like that. It mentally is what we all thought. But
and every kid's probably like, yay, no school. But okay, we'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly like that. I mean, and it was like, okay, I can remember having a conversation with my colleague out in the hallway. I had gone to a faculty meeting. He had stayed in the classroom. And he's like, I came back to the classroom and I'm like, you need to come out to the hallway. And he did. And I said, you're not going to believe this when I tell you this. I said, but we might be teaching from home for like 10 days. And he's like, what? It was just this shock. So emotion was initially like, I can rest. It's not going to be that bad. It's going to be, you know, and then we'll have spring break right after that. And then we'll come back. And, you know, when we didn't come back, that's when it really hit. That's when the emotions started to hit. And let me tell you, the teachers that I know, and myself included, the emotions can just get stronger as this stretches out. I mean,
what are those emotions? So identify some of them so that teachers know that it's completely normal, because I think, like you said, there's the thought of it must be me, or am I failing if I'm feeling this way? Identify some of those things so we can call them out so other teachers can go, okay, I'm not alone in feeling like this.
So I felt things like initially I felt very I had fear of, what if my job never looks the same? What if I lose my job? What if we never go back to school? That was initial, just fear. How am I going to, I've got 10 years left in this career. What, is it over? What is going on? Just shock and just fear. Okay. And then from there, trying to teach online with virtually no training because nobody's fault, just the way it happened. And then going, all right, I'm going to make this work. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to I hate myself on video. I don't want to see this. I don't want to do this, but I'm digging in and I'm going to make this work because I got to reach my students. So it went from fear to, determination. I got this, and then I didn't see my students. Like, I couldn't find them. I'm sure this happened a lot. Like, some of my students went to work, you know what I mean, to help their families or whatever, or they didn't have internet or whatever the problems were. I didn't see all of my students. And then I became sad at that point, like, where are my kids? Where are they? They're missing this. And so then, I started trying to find them and reaching out to anybody and everyone to find them. And then I connected with them. So it went through all of those stages. And then I was able to connect with them. And I did it in a very unconventional way. I did it on the phone because my teenagers love this. They love their phones. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sure they don't have their devices. We have a 1-to-1 student device ratio in Beaufort County. So every student has a tablet. And I'm like, they probably haven't charged that thing, but I bet you they've got this. So I started reaching out to parents and be like, can I talk to Gustavo? Please, this is Miss Collins. Can I talk to Gustavo? He's not in trouble. I just want to talk to him. So then I'm calling my students and, we're connecting, and I'll tell you, we were crying. I cried. They cried. I could cry right now thinking about it. It was just, oh my gosh, I hear you again. Hey, Miss Collins. Hey, I miss you. You're on my phone. Yeah, I'm on your phone. I know, because I couldn't find you on your tablet. I'm calling you. I'm on your phone. And so we had some laughs, but I mean, honestly, there were some of my students that caused me so much trouble in the classroom that I called, and they were like, I miss causing you trouble in the classroom. And I'm like, I don't know if I should be happy about that, but I kind of miss it too. I kind of miss you keeping me on my toes. I kind of miss that, and there was real sadness about the loss of connection. Sadness.
So go there for me for a second, because so now the classroom is my norm. I want to come into Mrs. Collins' class and cause some trouble. I want to just get into a classroom, but the fact that I can't get into a classroom or have that same structure has my whole education path spiraling. Can you talk about that for me?
In what aspect? Like from the kids' point of view, from mine?
Yeah. So from I would say from the kids' point of view, and understanding how, even if someone, let's say someone's in a dorm room right now, right? And they're attempting to they're on their campus, but they have to still take the classes virtually, right? And the structure of the classroom is really where they thrive. What does one do? What conversations does a parent have when they see that all of a sudden, if their kid's in the virtual environment, it's not working for them?
Man, it's so hard. That is so hard. It's something that I experienced here as a mom. So I can speak from that angle, because obviously, I'm not seeing my students and whether or not they're tuning in. So I can talk to you about this from my experience as a mother. And maybe, people can learn from it or take something away from it. But with my son, he was home from college his freshman year, and he was also taking 18 hours of very, very difficult classes. I'm talking like German 2, accounting, statistics, a lot of stuff I can't help him with. And, suddenly he's online and he's got his own room and his own computer and his own setup. And, I pretty much was hands off because he's grown, and I trusted him to do the right thing and to be online and to study and do all the things. And that was a mistake because he was not organized. Now, I didn't learn this till later in the semester, but because I was not checking behind him and I was just believing everything he was telling me, it got away from him. He was not organized. He thought he was organized, but he couldn't maybe find where to turn everything in, or he turned things into the wrong place, or he clicks so fast and moves so fast through screens. I don't know if you've ever observed a teenager on a computer, but it is, or any device, it is mind-boggling how fast. There's no way that you're reading that, because I can't read that because you're clicking too fast. So there's that whole aspect, and my son definitely fits in that mold. I mean, he's just clicking through, and he's missing detail. And so that happened. And procrastination happened, And I think there was also this belief that, this doesn't really matter. They're not really going to count this against me. They'll give me another chance. They're not really going to grade this. This is really not real. We'll go back next school year after summer break, and it'll all be good. They'll forgive us, and all this. And in some cases that was true. But in my son's case, it was not, because we are dealing with the Citadel here. They're not going to play, So he, GPA that he had worked so hard on and had worked so hard to bring up slipped right out from under him. And now he is on an academic leave period until January. So he couldn't go back. And it was very hard as a mom. I felt bad about myself initially because I felt like I should have done more. I should have checked up more. Maybe I shouldn't have believed him when he said he had everything done. Maybe I should have asked for proof. I really beat myself up over it. He beat himself up over it. Go ahead.
So again, and you're talking about not beating yourself up, because as parents, and this is if their kids are in a classroom and they're anxious and they're nervous about, I'm sending them back, but I don't have any control over some of the things that are going to happen right in this new school year. Or if they are now learning online and they're feeling like, am I not doing enough? Am I not prepared enough? And I can only imagine that other parents are watching you, Julie, going, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing what's happened in your own household. And obviously you're an educator, so you want to see, right? You want to see your son thrive and to feel like, oh my goodness, what do I do? So now sitting in the experience for other parents, what would you tell them to do as they navigate this year ahead to support their kids?
Just from my experience, from what just happened with my son, just make sure, I know you're working during the day and you're working, and you can't be in their classrooms and see everything in the moment. You can't do two things at once like that. But just make sure that you have really good conversations with your children, with your teenagers especially, about what they are doing and what is due and what is coming up and when is the test. And don't just let them grunt, because teenagers love to just grunt answers. They love to just not go into too much detail. So just make sure that you're having conversations where you're really asking them a lot of questions and follow-up questions. If something doesn't sound right, ask a follow-up question so that you can get clarification. And they're going to be annoyed. They're really going to be annoyed at all the questions. But I wish I would have asked more. For example, one of the things that he had to do for one of his classes was he had to participate in discussions. And he would just say, yeah, I did a discussion today. What I should have said was, well, what did you discuss? What was the topic? What comments did you make? Stuff like that. I think if I would have asked more detailed questions, he would have been very annoyed with me, but I would have gotten more.
I feel like if your kid's not annoyed with you or they're not saying I hate you, you're not parenting right. Because I feel like that's the norm.
It's like, it was like, oh, I'm so happy that he's home. I've really missed him. I really don't want to argue. I don't want to get into a thing with him. I don't want to have a thing right now. So, okay, you did the discussion. Great. You turned it in. Great. Okay. Well, let's cook some dinner. That was kind of how it went. So, I mean, I would encourage you to have like really annoying conversations with your kids about the details of their day, and don't let them get away with just saying, yeah, I did it. I got it. I got it. That's famous one. I got it. I did it.
But how do you, Julie, cross that wall? Because you've been doing this for 17 years, okay? But like the wall, like I think we all have a wall, right? And different capacities. So when we talk about like just even listening and what we take in, how do you get past that wall when you're competing with now my kids' whole environment's different. They're doing virtual this, virtual that. The phone's already like a third arm. How do you get past that wall so your kids are actually, really telling you, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, I need more time with this. Hey, something's going on. How do you get past that wall?
I mean, I think that when you do have the conversation, it needs to occur daily. And I think it needs to be with no devices, no background noise, no televisions on, total family time where you're really talking about, because if you've got distractions going on, you've got music in the background, you've got, let's say that you're talking to your kid, but you're opening the mail at the same time. Well, that's not going to work. You've got to put everything away and get rid of every distraction to get past that wall you're talking about. Because, and it does feel a little bit like you're backing them in a corner, like you're interrogating them or whatever. But I think it's good parenting, and it's definitely what we do in the classroom. I think I'm much better at it in the classroom than I am with my own child, honestly, because sometimes it's just like, well, I don't want a fight. I don't want him to think I don't trust him. I don't want to get into this, but at school, I'm just like, I'm your teacher. No, put that away. I got to talk to you right now. And it's a lot different. So to get past that wall with your kids, I really do think get rid of every distraction when you're having that conversation. And if something doesn't seem right, if something doesn't seem like it's a good enough answer, push it and be like, well, can I see it? Can I see it? I'd love to see that. That sounds like a great discussion you had. Can I see it? And then if they can't find it or they don't really want to show you, you probably have a problem. You probably got, a little lie going on. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be negative, but they do, a lot of times when they don't want to face something that's too difficult, a lot of times it's easier for them to just say, I got it, and go into denial than to say, I have a problem. I'm worried about this. It's hard for a kid to say that.
Or for adults too. That's a human. So like the thing I love about you, Julie, is you talk about heart first and then and getting to that real, right? Like it's okay. Let's you get out of the river of denial by acknowledging it and no shame, right? So like your household or how all of this is happening, it doesn't have to be perfection. But like you said, there is support and there are resources. And I want to kind of segue this into, Julie, the support you're providing as a tutor right now. What are those calls that you're getting? What are you hearing? Do you have time to take on more students as far as tutoring goes? When we get into support that families need to keep those GPAs up, to make sure that their kids are still getting into the schools and doing the things that they want to do, and if it's sports and you name it, what type of support are you offering as a tutor, and what are the questions you're getting right now from parents?
Well, I'm a big believer in tutoring, as a supplement to education all the time. But it's even more important now, I think, to be able to have a one-on-one or even a small group. Like I'm hearing a lot from parents about learning pods where they have like three children together with one teacher. So I think it's really, really important to reach out in your own community and find out what resources are available as far as tutoring. I mean, I am very full right now, but you never know. There might be an opening. You can always reach out to me on the website, to inquire. But tutoring face-to-face is really, really important, an important supplement to the online learning. Also, being able to utilize different experts in your community is really important. So maybe it's not a tutor, maybe it is your neighbor who is a retired PE teacher, maybe. These kids are used to being in school and they change what they're doing, every hour or every hour and a half or whatever, however it's set up. They've got physical education time. Please, don't expect your kid to sit down at a computer and knock it all out in one sitting. I mean, obviously they need to get up and move around. Maybe you work out something with a neighbor who has an area of expertise and wants to contribute. I've heard a lot from parents about that. I've heard a lot from parents that have called me for tutoring that they have a neighborhood learning pod where they have kids together, and maybe for PE time, they change it up a little bit and they all together, small group, but they all together go somewhere with a pool and they swim for an hour. Then they come back and go to the classroom. And then later in the day, they go to their tutor for math because they need extra help with the math that they did online that day. So I have a lot of people telling me that they're taking advantage of just people in the community that can help. And there's a lot of people willing to help in the communities. So, reach out in those neighborhood groups that you belong to, the Facebook groups that you belong to, and find out where those experts are and who they are, and see if you can get in on that to get some support.
So let's go into teacher self-care, which is also a good segue into things that make you happy with your passion for decor. For educators that are watching, give me some quick self-care things that you would recommend for them just to be able to feel their best as they navigate this school year.
Well, teachers are very, very stressed right now. It's a whole new world, and we are used to being the experts in our classrooms. We are used to, especially if we're veteran teachers, we're used to kind of knowing the ropes. We know the drill. We know what to do. We can answer almost any question that's thrown at us. But now all of a sudden, we're in a whole new world. And some of us are technologically challenged, and we're learning a lot of new stuff, so much that we're losing sleep over it and we're scared. What are we going to do on the first day of school? What are we going to do if Zoom freezes? What are we going to do? Because we're in charge. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. So I think it's important to just make sure that we don't put too much pressure on ourselves, and we realize that, we're all in this together and we're all new at this, and we're not going to get in trouble because something freezes or we don't know the answer to something that we just learned. You're not going to get in trouble. We're just going to take a step back, take a nice deep breath, walk into our backyards, walk away from the computer, walk into your backyard, look at nature if that calms you down, go grab your dog, hold on to your dog, talk to your dog, do whatever it is that you do to calm yourself down so that you don't put too much pressure on yourself. And then when you start to feel a little calm down, then go back to the computer and try to figure out what the problem is with a clear head. Don't expect that everything's just going to magically just fall into place and you're going to be this expert online just like you are in the classroom. It's probably not going to happen. So balance yourself out. I balance your life out. Do a little bit of physical exercise, a little bit of meditation if that's what you do. I mean, I can tell you my day. If you want to see what it looks like. I wake up in the morning. The most important thing I do every single day is pray. My faith in God is the most important thing. That it's everything. Like I told you the other day, it's everything. So I start with that. And if I can do a little bit more than just say 10 or 15 minutes, it's even better. But I don't put too much pressure on myself to read the entire Bible. Okay. Don't put too much on myself, but I try to make sure that I wake up and I'm grateful, because I really, really am grateful for my health, for still having a job, for my neighbors, for my family, et cetera, et cetera. And then I go into teaching whatever I've got on my plate after that little quiet time. And then I take time to sit down and eat. Teachers, we got spoons in our hand. We're teaching and we don't take time to eat really when we're at work. We eat while we're teaching. We're walking through the hallway, eating and doing a million things all at once. So I take time to sit down. I do this at school too. I go outside at school. I go outside and I sit outside in front of the building and I eat my lunch for 20 minutes completely alone. And I don't talk to anyone and I just relax for 20 minutes. And it really does me a lot of good. Then I go back in and see what I have to tackle. So I do the same thing at home. Stop, eat, rest, then go back in, do some more. And then at the end of the day, work out, exercise, because that some things have happened during the day that have stressed you out. So go exercise, walk, run, lift weights, do yoga, swim, whatever. Hang out with your dog some more, talk to God some more, and don't beat yourself up too much. So balance. Don't work 12 hours trying to solve a problem because, it's probably not going to get solved. I mean, you kind of have to walk away a little bit, look at it again with fresh eyes the next day, and it'll probably work itself out. Balance, balance, balance.
So I like it though to take some time to reflect, check in with your faith, stop, breathe, look at what you have ahead of you in that day, making sure that you eat, that you actually put yourself on your calendar as you're navigating this. And I think that's a good takeaway for anyone that's tuning in, that you are doing those check-ins. And then, like you said, removing yourself from it, giving yourself some space, readdressing those problems, and then working that energy out of you. But also you work hard to make spaces beautiful. So I think that's something that we both love. If y'all have not realized it, like I love decor. Like it is a happy space. You and I also both agree that you don't have to spend $1 bazillion to make your space feel great. Can you talk to me, because this is what you also do at Salt Marsh and Spurs, and people can learn about it at saltmarshandspurs.com. You've got your backyard is going to be famous and featured in Savannah Magazine very soon. So you can say like, hey, I just saw that lady hanging out on Mia Talks. What are some of the quick things that people can do just to make their home, if they're working from it, if it is part restaurant, part school, daycare, what are some quick things they can do to just make it feel awesome every day?
One of the quickest things that makes the biggest impact is just paint a new color. It's not very expensive. I actually love painting. It's relaxing to me. I love doing any kind of decorating. It relaxes me. It does not stress me out. It does stress some people out, but that's why you call me for help. And then I can show you what paint color to use, and then you won't stress. But use a professional if it stresses you out. But changing the paint color in your room makes a huge impact for very, very little money. Also, another thing that I love to do, and I did this almost all day yesterday in my house, was just changing out the pillows in your living room. We're coming up on fall, and the seasons are going to change. I know it's hot right now, but just changing out your pillows, changing out maybe curtains, drapery, changing out little throws that you use on your furniture. I just did rugs. Rugs are a little pricey, but I switched out my rugs and I sold my old ones on Facebook Marketplace. So I really didn't spend that much money.
And you recycled. Good for you. Recycling too. There you go.
Take a spin through Goodwill. I did that yesterday. I found a really super cool chair. I wasn't looking for a chair, but the chair saw me and I saw the chair and I'm like, I gotta have it. And it's a happy thing. I've got a whole new piece of furniture that's super cool that looks great in my room. And I spent like $14. I mean, come on. It's great stuff. So
are you one of those believers, and I am a believer in this, that you shouldn't bring anything into your home unless you absolutely love it? Like, I get like you're starting out, it's essential and whatever, you know what I mean? But like, don't bring it unless you love it, just because it's going to be a part of your space.
Yes. And also, I definitely agree with you on that. And also, if you see something that you love and you're going, I have no idea where I'm going to put that, there's nowhere for me to put that. If you love it and it makes you really happy, get it, because you're going to find somewhere to put it. Just like my cool chair that I just bought from Goodwill.
I need a picture of that chair. I want to see what you do with that. All right, y'all, we are at time. So I want you to please connect with Julie, saltmarshandspurs.com. Please take the time to share this video, share all that you've learned. We started with the amazing David Pence Allstate team. I can't say thank you enough to Angela and Tammy and David Pence. It is a veteran-owned business, but they're so committed to the success of families and teachers that they sponsored and powered this show today to make sure that families know when it comes to having your back that they're thinking of you all the time. And you can reach out to them at 912-961-9617. Julie, my gosh, starting with don't beat yourself up. That's an applicable tip, again, that people can apply to their lives at any time. I thank you for walking us through the emotions of loss, sadness, adaptation, flexibility, in navigating how this classroom looks and how it felt at the end of last school year, because that was such abrupt change. And abrupt change is like grief, right? Like, it's like the stages of grief to actually go through. We're going through this. And then, like you said, kids were no longer there, that you're like, wait a minute, I know where you are all the time. Or all of a sudden what you thought were troublemaking, maybe sometimes kids, you're like, I just need to know that they're okay, because I want to make sure that they're plugged in and that they are getting the same support and resources. And like you said, using that cell phone, making sure, hey, if you have a way to reach out to your kids and you just want them to know, I'm cheering you on, May River High School is still cheering you on, just to know that that's going the extra mile for your students to know that that you are in their corner. And then talking about, as a parent, to have those uncomfortable conversations and to ask those questions and not be afraid to get past that wall, even as uncomfortable or as scary as it feels, because you don't want your kid to feel like you don't trust them, but you also can, kind of look at some signs that, hey, maybe they might need some help. And it's very hard for anyone to ask for help. And so we have to remember that kids are just little people trying to navigate this entire new normal as well. And just saying, hey, I need help, that's a reality in any household, or if it's in the classroom or online as well. Thank you for saying, hey, when I first had to get on video, I didn't want to do it. I think that's a norm for a lot of people. They don't want to be on a video and go, hey, let's talk. Like, for me, that's my job, right? But like, really, just people getting on and going, I can do this. How courageous and brave that is, you guys. So celebrate yourselves. Like, celebrate. You're a teacher. You're an administration. You're a mom or a dad or a student that will be watching this. Please celebrate how much you've learned, grown, adapted, gave up, changed, have modified your entire life to be in this moment. So, Julie, I cannot say thank you enough for sharing your heart, sharing your fantastic service, your 17 years of teaching. You're amazing. May River High School 2019-2020 Teacher of the Year. Yay! And again, huge thank you to the David Pence Allstate team for dedicating their work to the success and safety of families in our area. You guys, there's one more chance. I'll pop up that contact information for the Pence team there. You want to hang out with Julie, that's waiting for you. And you guys, we will be back with season 2. The next episode that's coming, it's dedicated to us all surviving hurricane season. We do want to send our prayers to all those families along the Gulf Coast as they get ready to brave a lot of stuff. And just, you guys, we're here to support each other. Julie, thank you for being you. Don't go anywhere as we disconnect. And we're going to say, see you later, you guys.
All right, thank you.
Any episodes that you missed, you guys find them at www.miatalks.com. We'll see you next time. Stand by, Julie.